Hi everyone, this is Learning with Linda, and today I bring you an update regarding a very important season coming up. It is tax season, guys, for 2024, and of course, we're going to be answering here a couple of important questions. Starting off with, when can you start filing your taxes in 2024? That's something that's very important for all of us to know. And then with that, I'm going to bring you also some important dates you're going to have to keep in mind for filing your taxes. Of course, when we talk about taxes, we do have to talk about those IRS tax refunds for those that qualify, and we are including that information in this video as well as to when to expect your tax refund for those who file their taxes early. Then we'll also be answering a very popular question right now is, will the $600 rule apply for 2023 regarding tax filing if you use apps like PayPal or even Venmo? So make sure you guys stay until the end of this video to ensure that you receive this information. Now, before we get started, if you're interested in the latest news regarding stimulus, child tax credit, SNAP, PEBT, or everything in between, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below. Now let's get right to it. So as we all know, we are 7 days pretty much into the month of January. And so one important thing we always keep in mind right around this month is tax season, right? When is that going to start? And more importantly, when will the IRS begin to start accepting these tax returns? So although major or last-minute changes by Congress to the tax law can cause a delay in the start of the tax filing season in 2024, the official kickoff for tax filing is set for January 22nd, marking the earliest date for individuals to submit their tax returns. And actually, I remember a couple years back, the only reason why the tax filing date changed was because there was like this whole governmental shutdown. So last year, the Internal Revenue Service began accepting and processing tax returns on Monday, January 23rd. A date for this year's official start hasn't been announced yet, but it is expected to be right around that time. Now, employers, remember, are also required to send employees their W-2 and 1099 income tax forms by the end of January. So keep in mind, this is something you should look out for in the mail, or, you should expect to receive from your employer. Now, again, the official deadline to file federal tax returns is Monday, April 15th of 2024. And now, of course, everyone's circumstances are very different. And so there are some important dates you need to know when filing your taxes, whether you live in the United States, whether you don't, whether you're expecting a tax refund, and so forth. So in late January, that's pretty much when the IRS will begin the 2024 tax season. And of course, they're going to start accepting those individual 2023 tax returns. But remember, guys, that the full date has not yet quite been released, or it hasn't been made official, but it is expected to be right around January 22nd. April 15th is another deadline to keep in mind, since this is the national due date to file a 2023 tax return or request an extension for those that need that, and then also pay your taxes owed. Now, for residents of Massachusetts and then residents of the state of Maine, they pretty much have until April 17th to file their federal tax return because of state holidays. And again, their deadline would be April 17th. So it only applies to the residents of those two states. June 17th, that's the tax deadline for Americans living abroad. Then the month of July is also the deadline to claim your 2020 tax refund for those that need to do that. October 15th would be the due date to file for those requesting an extension on their 2023 tax returns. I know that's another deadline to keep in mind if you need additional time to file your 2023 tax returns. Now, the IRS does offer extensions in the event of a disaster. You may be eligible for an extension to file your return and pay your tax bill if you are in a federally declared disaster area. Again, it has to be like federally declared. In most cases, you will not need to request an extension. You will get it automatically. Now, naturally, when we're talking about taxes in general, we will always be talking about tax refunds, of course, for those that do receive those. So here's some information as to when you can expect to receive your tax refund for this year. Now, there's a couple of things that can affect a taxpayer in terms of when he or she may be receiving her tax refund. There's a couple of factors you must keep in mind, such as, like, of course, number one, how early you file your return. Number two, if the taxpayer is claiming certain credits, it seems like those usually, like the IRS, takes a little bit more time verifying that information, especially with the earned income tax credit, and also if you're claiming the child tax credit. Another thing to keep in mind is whether the return is e-filed, electronically filed, or even sent by mail. That would also affect how soon you can receive your refund. And number four, whether the taxpayer has existing debts to the federal government. Now, if your IRS income tax refund is delayed after you filed, you can ask your tax professional or simply use the Where's My Refund tool on the IRS website to check the status of your refund. I know that's something I'm constantly using as well. Now, taxpayers with the Earned Income Tax Credit, Child Tax Credit, and a few other credits generally have their refunds delayed by about 1 month while the IRS confirms eligibility for these credits. So here we have the 2024 IRS Estimated Tax Refund Calendar. So as I previously mentioned, there's going to be a couple things that can affect how soon you can receive your refunds, right? Then of course, number one, it depends on when your 2023 tax return is accepted. So let's say the official date to file your IRS tax return would be January 22nd. Let's say you file it anywhere between January 22nd through January 27th. If you choose to receive your refund via direct deposit, it can be sent on February 16th, maybe even a little before that. And then if you don't have the bank information inputted, you would be receiving it by mail, right, as a paper check. And it seemed like that paper check can be sent on February 23rd, right around there. And then it might even take a couple weeks for you to actually receive it in your mailbox. Another example could be, let's say you decide to submit your forms on anywhere between February 4th through February 10th. If your bank information is inputted in your forms, then you can receive your direct deposit anywhere between March 1st, let's say, and then your paper check, you can even receive it or a couple weeks after March 8th or so. So here's a good calendar you can use as a guideline just to give you a rough idea. Now, the IRS gives you two major choices for lowering your taxable income. Most people choose a standard deduction, so I am including that information in this video. And the second option would be to itemize, right? So most taxpayers opt for the standard deduction simply because it's less work than itemizing, but that doesn't mean it's the right choice for everyone. Now, the standard deduction is a specific dollar amount that the IRS lets you subtract from your adjusted gross income to lower the amount of income you get taxed on. So how much of a standard deduction you're entitled to generally depends on your tax filing status. So here are the amounts for the 2023 standard deduction. Now, of course, if you are filing single, your 2023 standard deduction would be of $13,850. If you are married filing separately, it would be of $13,850 as well. And then if you are married filing jointly, or you are a qualified widow/widower, it would be $27,700. And then if you're head of household, it would be at $20,800. And as expected, the standard deduction for this year, for 2024, is pretty much higher, right? And this, of course, it doesn't come into play until you do your taxes next year, which would be due in April of 2025. But here I've pretty much laid out the information for you. So if you are filing single next year, right, your standard deduction would be of $14,600. If you're married filing separately, it would be $14,600 as well. Now, it's going to change a little bit if you're married filing jointly or qualifying widow/widower, $29,200, and then head of household, it would be $21,900. And now for anyone that is self-employed and uses apps like Venmo or other payment apps, here's some important news I thought you should know. So the IRS is also delaying requiring users of Venmo and other payment apps to report transactions over $600. So let's dive right into all the details. So in the month of November, the IRS announced that it is again delaying the implementation of a 2021 law that requires payment platforms such as Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App to send forms called the 1099s to anyone who received more than $600 in the current tax year. Now, the reason for that is that the agency said it will push the regulation back another year to reduce taxpayer confusion after hearing from taxpayers, tax professionals, and then also payment processors. Now, without that delay, an estimated 44 million 1099K forms would have been sent to millions of taxpayers for the 2023 tax year. Now, instead, the IRS will rely on a pre-existing threshold, which was more than 200 transactions that exceeded $20,000 in income for sending 1099s in early 2024 for completing the 2023 tax year's returns. And then heading on into 2024, of course, this would apply for those who file their taxes in 2025. The IRS is planning a phased rollout that they're going to be requiring payment apps to report freelancer and business owner earnings over $5,000 instead of the $600. So that means people who receive more than $5,000 in payments via cash apps like PayPal and other apps in 2024 would receive the 1099K tax form in early 2025 to complete their 2024 tax returns. So for the 2025 tax year, the threshold would step down to $600 unless the IRS makes additional changes. All third-party payment apps are required to begin reporting transactions involving you to the IRS in 2024. Now, some popular payment apps include PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App. Other platform freelancers may use, such as Fiverr or Upwork, are also on the hook to begin reporting payments that freelancers receive throughout the year. And that is all the updates that I have for today. Remember to turn on your notification button to know when I have uploaded a new video. See you guys next time.